detailed in your packet for this weekend, but, basically with one of the GASBs that was put into place about 3 years ago, we have to commit, assign, and then unassigned. Your unassigned fund balance can't be more than that, for us, it's 8%. So we have to have our unassigned under 8%, which the way we set everything up in our committed and assigned numbers, our unassigned is 3%, 3.1%. Committed, we took the retirement incentives that we still owe out for those that have retired under the old contract. Those are committed, and then the contract settlement costs, all the costs that we had to pay out, the retro pay and all the benefits that went along with that, that's all committed. So those two figures make up the committed amount that's listed there. And then assigned, what we did is we look over the next 2 to 3 years as far as our healthcare costs, what our predictions are, where we think we'll be, and then PSERS also, with the PSERS rates that are given to us. We do get a few years of estimated, but they've been pretty steady to what they actually pass as legislation with the retirement number. So took those and our salary numbers for those years and did some predictions for what's assigned. And those are more predictions. The committed is more like, I know how much I'm going to pay out over the next few years.
It's been working out okay for us
Yeah.
over the last 3 years, as you mentioned.
So I'll give you some spreadsheets in your packet for Friday when that goes out, just to kind of give you a little more detail on how I came up with those numbers, okay?
Okay, great. Next is the donation of Jeff's salary to 3 organizations, DESIN, to the Education Foundation here, and to the Junior Wildcats.
I have a question about that. When I took over as treasurer for Frank Ward, I did half of his term. There was a question about that designation, he had designated it to a library or something.
Right, so the
And
first,
then, so he's doing the same thing in a sense, right?
right, it's half will be
50,
from your designations
Okay,
from
all right,
last year
okay.
that you did
So
in May,
that's
and the other
15 is
half.
half, correct?
Yeah, 15 is half of the
Okay,
salary.
just checking.
Yep.
Yep.
Thank you. I was doing what you're doing.
I just have a question. I don't know if giving $500 to a specific sports program in our district is actually a smart maneuver. It's going to show favoritism towards one sport over another, and could bring in ethical questions about what school director, depending on what position they hold, is going to, throw district money into one school affiliated program and not into another.
It's not district money too, it's a salary, correct?
Well, it is technically still district money because I won't receive a W-2. If I designate it to a nonprofit, I don't have to claim the money. So it does go directly from the school to these organizations. So I guess technically it would be a direct.
The only difference of opinion I have, and it's a good point, is the fact that we gave it away outside the box, and now he's given some money in the box to one of our programs. It's a good point, but
And I'll explain, AJ, because I thought about, who to give it to, where. I want to give some money back to the youth organizations that are within our district. Having coached them, you coach, you know it. And I still feel that there's an educational side of doing that. Secondly, my idea or my thoughts were, as long as I retain the treasurer's position, is to rotate that. There's other youth programs that are also nonprofits, so it wasn't like I'm gonna favor football every year, baseball, basketball, there's track. But I know football is an approved 501. I know baseball doesn't have one. Basketball doesn't have one. So the ones that do have them is where I'm putting money about football. Knowing the program and where it's at now and helping it, I felt like it was a good place to start.
Well, I appreciate the more detail, because now it seems as if there won't be favoritism, and I think that's important to outline to our community, that one group is not going to receive district money, preferential treatment, and both together for an extended period of time.
And to piggyback on one of my other donations to DESIN. DESIN serves our county, Wayne and Pike. They're also very instrumental in helping control our pet population. They weren't there, the taxpayers would bear the burden of, having to take care of the animals, or local police, whoever. Destin has also, and I'll explain this further at some point, I wanted to get a kids' corner or a clothing corner set up at our schools, the elementary schools in particular, so that we can have an opportunity for the public to come in and, you know, have clothes for the kids. Destin was gracious enough to give us some feed, start clothing. So, we're gonna get that rolling, so I felt, you know, appropriate to give it to Destin.
Considering their plight that they have, like most nonprofits are struggling to keep that going.
I think the in the
So I
box, out of
appreciate
the box comment,
Yeah.
mine was pretty much in the box in the
Yeah.
sense that half of it was to the Education Foundation, which directly, all of its contributions went to this, to the kids
To
in
the
the district.
district, yeah, I'm sorry.
And the
I wasn't
library
thinking on that.
certainly plays a role in Evergreen School,
Mhm.
direct role, and then the other schools as well, so.
And taxpayers utilize it inside their school district. And it's their money ultimately.
Right.
Okay,
Thanks,
great,
Jeff.
great, thanks. We have some clearance, requirements for clearances. This was a big year for everybody having to re-up their clearances for December 31st. There was a law that everybody is now updated every 5 years.
5
It
years.
was 3, now it went to 5. In the support contract with our educational support members, we had agreed to pay for half of the clearances, the cost for half of the clearances. And we're requesting the same consideration for the secretaries and the teacher assistants. From a relative basis, their pay is now similar, their administrative and clerical duties are similar, and we're asking that we, going forward, will have half of their clearances paid for, which ends up being
About $22, $23
that,
reimbursement
every 5 years.
every 5 years.
So,
That's only if they provide the documentation.
If they
Correct.
provide the documentation.
and the invoice, yeah, correct.
Appearances on volunteers, who pays for that? There's no fee,
No, all volunteers have to have clearances and they pay for it.
they pay for it.
So I think they've
I'm saying
switched
this
that
because
now.
I just did them for volunteers. And when I informed they fill out, says all your volunteers, yes, no fee.
No fee.
Wow,
That's
why
new,
didn't they
that
just
did
change-
change,
that's
but
good.
that's newer.
Just change.
Volunteers used to have to pay, like,
Yeah.
Oh, that's
If
great.
you're new one, Rose?
that's new that they don't have to
Oh, that's
pay
new
as a
that they don't.
volunteer. Yeah, that
Which
we
is
used to have
great.
to pay.
And the other thing that's happened is if it's a one-time event, and Roger pointed this out to me, we have a big vocational event that a lot of people come in and volunteer for. And if it's a one-time event and it's supervised by somebody who has the clearances and a district employee, not everybody who comes in has to have the clearances. We're talking how many people? 30, 40 people. And it was like, we had to jump through all these hoops for 30, 40 people for 4 or 5 hours worth of volunteering on one single event, and that rule has changed now too. So I think the realization that there are a lot of people that want to volunteer and want to help, but don't want to have to spend $30 and 7 hours of time
To do a good
to
thing.
do a good thing, and then only volunteer for 2 hours or 3 hours. So
But this is like 6th, it's coming up on the 16th, and I hope to see all of you there.
Yes,
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. E-rate application, we did an E-rate application for technologies. And E-rate is a state program that we literally got 77% allocation. I didn't bring that sheet in with
Oh,
me, but
I have it.
it was, I think, about $38,000 worth of equipment that we tried to E-rate, which means literally we applied to the E-rate, which were Cisco switches, and again, I'm a tech card, so I don't know what everything does, other than our tech people have done a really good job. There are 9 Cisco switches, there are 51 wireless access points, and 10 uninterrupted power supply servers, sum totaling $38,000. E-rate is going to contribute $29,000 of the $38,000, so, and our responsibility will be about $8,700. So 77% of those items are going to come through the E-rate funding application.
When will you know if you receive that award? Because it says if we receive the
It
award.
has to come out of
May, June,
Okay.
and depending on the system, it could take even to September.
And depending on what happens with our state.
No, this one's
This is
federal.
This one's
Federal
federal.
government,
Okay.
federal,
Gotcha.
and it's actually been funded, so pretty much everything that you submit does get approved,
Okay.
so they have the funding behind it.
So you say the state government's not gonna hold that hostage, so?
Not federal.
Well, they held the Title I funding from us.
Well, this is really the only
This doesn't
sandbox
matter
that we
for
can
this
play
game.
with and probably get it, so.
And this money does not pass through the state, so we should be okay.
This is not-
This is not
pass
passed
through
through the
money?
state. This is not passed through the
Yeah,
state, so I think
okay.
we're okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right, okay, great. And thanks, Brian, for putting that all together. It's all really important stuff. Then we have substitutes, some coaches. We do have additional coaching positions that are being filled. And then fall coach for next year, there was one additional, was one position open for girls soccer that's now being filled. We do have a request for retirement for Maria Neary at the middle school for the end of the school year. Some volunteer approvals, and then some upcoming informational items. The concerts, the curriculum night. We do have an Act 80 day, Monday, January 18th, that we're doing some pretty substantial security training that Mr. Blanc has arranged with the state police and law enforcement. It will be a very positive experience and very much needed. We have the semi-formal door. The mileage reimbursement rate actually went down. It's the first time in a long time that I can remember. It went from 57 and a half
57.5.
down to 54 cents, and that's a function of gas pricing. Going from wherever it was at the high at about $4 a gallon now it's to, I think the state, so speaking of the state, I think the state puts on 10 cents a gallon more tomorrow. For
30-cent increase roughly over a 3-year
period.
We're in seconds.
Cap was lifted?
No, just,
No,
Yeah, that was
this was approved.
That
This
was
was
put
approved.
through the previous governor, Governor Ford, but we
The cap was lifted,
Oh,
yeah. And then, it's a cap, it's not a tax. We lift the cap and then it goes to the gasoline providers, which goes to the pumps. But it really wasn't a tax increase. It's like saying that education funding was cut in the state of Pennsylvania when the federal stimulus dollars just ran out.
so where does the money go?
I thought the
That we're
liquor
paying
tax.
extra for?
No, it wasn't. It's not a tax. The cap was lifted. The cap was allowed to expire. And when the cap expired,
No, this was a tax. This is a, yes,
I think the
well,
subsidy,
from
it's
what
an
they,
actual tax.
from what they propagated out of Harrisburg, and
Yeah.
what the cap lifted was, that's a different conversation we can have, but from my research, I have a different understanding of it when you go into the bill. So,
We're talking about highway funding, I believe. Is
I
that-
thought it was highway funding bill, but
then they
but
raised the tolls on the turnpike. How you doing?
Yeah, they raised the tolls.
How you doing?
so that's it. I did also put in your packets, just the board schedule again. Because we're doing it differently, I tried to put everything out there all the way through December of the meeting dates for committee meetings and the meeting dates for board all on one page. Try to be as organized as we can, and there's a couple of, okay? So that's the agenda, and then there's all the reports, and then the future meetings are listed there as well. Okay, any questions or comments on that? We already talked about the energy conservation program, so we don't need to spend any more time there. We do need to go to executive session for personnel matters. If we could do that now, unless there's.
Does the staff tonight just have to stay?
What's that?
Do they have to stay?
I have a couple people that I want to have stay as part of it.
Can Mr. Jaworski leave? He's got a big day tomorrow.
That big day
Let
tomorrow.
me see, does anyone from the public have anything to wish to comment on?
I'm serious. That won't rest, and I'm being serious, just security wise. You are busy with us, I'm putting the letter. It hasn't. What? I'm trying to be honest here.
It's a good time to bring that into this.
What's that?
Hey, wait, thank you.
All right, I'll be grumpy again.
us some time to review that? and
Sure.
Get back to you
No problem.
on that, okay?
Any other comments from the public?
I was hoping that you might consider, because you are our new superintendent, in the past, we've had some major financial problems, and it was actually addressed on the webpage. Kind of a position, and you're talking about, you know, holding the line on taxes, how we can extend debt, really important things. Is it possible that you would consider providing the public on our webpage your thoughts as our new superintendent in writing, so that people can kind of get an idea of where you're hoping to take the district over the next couple of months, so people
Yeah,
can get to know
sure.
what your
I mean, we-
plans are.
We're sharing information, I think, as good as we've shared it in a long time, and
Mhm.
I would, you know, I don't
Yeah,
have
very
any
beneficial.
difficulty with that at all.
I actually think everything you threw out there tonight was a lot of good input that you have right there already, but whatever you want to do more, it's up to you.
And this is, you know, we've been talking about this since August, so it's not, but yeah.
Right, to kind of give a start to
I
the new
just
year.
don't- My only difficulty with putting something out on the web is if it gets completely misinterpreted, and then gets regurgitated to something that's not necessarily true.
Right, sure,
And we all know how that can happen.
absolutely.
When the conversation starts here, and by the time it gets all the way around the table, it may have substantially
Right.
changed. But I mean, there's some very specific cut and dry things that the school district has done.
Mhm.
And yeah, we can address them with, here's where we are financially.
Correct, that would be
Okay.
wonderful.
Okay,
Thank you.
great. All right, if we could go to the executive session.